Well, welcome to Night Watchers Paranormal Australia, and we are here for our fortnightly live, guys. Thank you for joining us. We've got a guest tonight, and it is going to be an amazing conversation, and I'm going to throw it over to Dan to let you guys know who's on. And we will wait a few minutes once we've introduced him before we get him to actually tell us who he is. So introduce him, Dan, and then we'll let it sit for a couple of minutes.
All right, guys. So whoever's on, welcome to the live stream. Whoever's watching after the fact, welcome to the live stream. We've got a special guest on tonight. We've got Professor Pendark with us. So he's right here in the centre of Pete and I. I think he's in the middle. He's in the middle of my screen. So Yep, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. I know that it's very early for you at the moment. It's 4:30 in the morning for you over there.
It is.
So thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
We really do.
Yeah. So we're just going to get into it in a second. We're just letting people start flying in. They're all starting to come in now. So I'm just going to acknowledge a few people before we start asking questions.
Perfect.
Mirage, Helen, it's not that Helen. How you going, Mirage? Helen, how you going?
Let me know. How are you, Helen?
Thanks for being in. Beck's in. Hey, Beck, how you going?
Hey, Beck.
Andrea's in. Hey, Andrea. Julie Swallow, Julie's in.
Hey, Julie.
Jody Huggard, I think it is. Hey, Jody. Then we've got Colleen. Colleen's in as well. Hey, Colleen. So I might actually put these up so we can see
there
them.
We go.
And then we've got Andrea. She says hello. Hi, Professor. Julie there. Jody. And then we've got Helen. Colleen. Melissa McGrath. Hey, Melissa, thanks for being here. She's from Bundaberg. Thanks, and we've got Anthony
Bundy,
Nelson.
one of my favourite places.
Yeah, Bundy's good, yeah. Anthony's on. Hello, Anthony. We've got the beautiful, wonderful Ange from Spirit Crew Australia. Angela Accardi. Hey, darling.
Also,
thanks for being
my other half. How are you going, sweetheart?
And we've got Dawn Freeman's in, and then they're just talking amongst themselves at the moment. So, right now we've got 12 on right now, so we'll start getting into it. So, for those that have just jumped on, we've got Professor Pendark with us tonight. He's going to basically let us know exactly who he is, what he does, and then we'll get further into the interview from there. So, all right, take it away, mate.
All right. As you said, I'm Professor Pendark. Now, just to let everybody know, Pendark is a stage name that I threw together back when I was about 15 years old. I was, really into the stories of King Arthur and Merlin, and Arthur's last name was Pendragon, and I thought that was cool. So, they say that Pendragon is derived from of the dragon. So Pendark was of the dark. He's from the dark zones in my life. So that's where that name comes from. And then Professor is kind of an honorary title. It was thrown at me by a lady. I was doing card readings in a museum here in Austin, and I had, I guess, embarrassed her in front of her boyfriend. Not that it was hard to do. She was, scantily clad and 3 sheets to the wind, so it wasn't too hard to embarrass her. But she basically, slammed her money down on the table, and she said, "Thanks for telling my whole life there, Professor." And then something just clicked, and I said, "You know what? I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that." So that's where the name comes from. And as far as, where to find me or any of that, you just Google Professor Pendark. I found out that can be done now. So.
That's what we do. We just tell people, just Google our name. It'll shoot you everything you need to know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it saves rambling off all the things. So that's great. Okay, so I'll ask you just one more question, then I'll get Pete to ask you a few. So, what is it you actually do on your, with your shows and stuff? Like, what is it you actually do?
Okay. Well, I am a magician. I do some of the mentalism, mind reading stuff. I also do escapes, and I do some of the sideshow danger act stuff. So I actually do like the kind of weird mystical stuff, the bed of nails and the walking on glass and that kind of stuff during my show. But the primary thing I do is the magic and the mentalism. I have a lot of fun with it.
Right. Oh, awesome. That's great. I'm just going to shout out to a couple of other people, and then Pete, you go for it. So I'm just going to go. Who we got in? Catherine Bex. Catherine's in. Hey, Catherine. We've got a few of our mods. One, Bex one, Andrea's in as well. Colleen's another. And we've got Chris in. Chris here is from our Adelaide team. And we've got
works very closely with me.
Angela, what's the missed one here? Where'd it go? No, I didn't. It's further down. Andrea's put a link up. Hey, Andrea Dolan, thanks for being here. That's a link to his Facebook. So if check him out our mods are onto it, mate. They're one of they're the best team in the world. They straight into it. They start flicking things out there for you. Paul Cowie. Hey, Paul. G'day there, Funsters. Hope you're doing well. Doing great, Paul. Thanks for being in, mate. All right, Pete, go.
Okay, the first question I do want to ask you is, how did you get into this? Like, at what age did you get into it, and how did you develop and figure out that this is something that you wanted to do with your life?
Okay, well, it was actually quite an accident. There was a guy in my old church back in the days when, Mom used to make me go to church. There was a guy that was a magician, and he called himself Peter the Great, and he actually did a show for the church, and I was just fascinated by it. I thought it was real cool, and I said, I'd love to learn that. I approached him. I said, I'd love to learn that. He said, well, all right, let's do it. So he talked to my parents and took me along for a couple of his shows and taught me some of what he does. And I think I was about 12 years old when that happened. And just ever since then, I've just studied a little bit. And then recently, I've kind of become the, old dog learning new tricks. I keep, adding new stuff to the circus side of it, I've been having some fun with it.
Right. Okay.
Oh, that is amazing. Now, another question I do have for you. Mm-hmm. What is the most dangerous thing you've ever performed, and did it actually really, were you like, if you were going to do it, were you like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this?
Well, that's half the stuff I do, but the big one was that something in my head said, you know what, we do the Houdini escape stuff, we do the bed of nails, let's combine the two. And that proved to be a bit of a mistake. I came out with scratches all up from, my butt, halfway up my back from that. But it was an interesting experience. That's about the most dangerous thing I've done. There's never, sorry about the jumpy screen, guys.
No, that's okay.
There's never zero danger to doing that stuff. There's always a little bit of danger involved. But that time I was kind of stupid and miscalculated a little bit and ended up with some pretty severe scratches all up my butt. But other than that, I think, I've pretty well got it down where it's not too terribly dangerous anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, definitely is one of those things that can be very very dangerous in things you're doing, especially like escapes and all those sort of things. You do things like got to escape it while you've got a certain amount of oxygen and things like. I haven't actually seen your stuff, so I'm going blind here. So, is there anything like that?
Well, no, I'm. I don't do any of the big, David Copperfield kind of stuff. I steer away from that because, I'm just going to be honest. I find that stuff a bit hokey. You know, the TV. I'm going to use the Hollywood straitjacket and hang from a tree. You know, all that stuff. I find that stuff a bit hokey. I like to be a little more up and personal with my audience. So I do more. My stuff is just kind of like today. It's just kind of throw and go. I've got a bunch of suitcases full of stuff, and I just throw them down and I do my thing. So.
Yeah, good stuff, right? Yeah, a bit like David Copperfield, where he makes the Statue of Liberty disappear. Did you see that one? Like years ago, I saw the TV show, and I was like,
that was cool. And there's a lot of good stuff. I'm not a huge fan of Chris Angel, mostly because the hair thing, but it's he does what he does, and it's different, and I'm just kind of a fly by the seat of my pants, no filters, kind of smart ass during my show. I don't do the formal stuff like they do.
Yep, that's it. You keep it real. Keep it real. Yep.
Got another question for you. Now, with your audiences, obviously you do travel around the States and do your thing. What is the reception like when you do stuff as a magician? How does the audience take that?
It varies. I mean, my primary audience, I've got a regular show that I do. I'm going to give them a little shout out if that's all right.
Go for it.
Skellington Curiosities here in Texas. They're in Waco, Texas. They have actually given me a monthly gig to, spring from to do everything else. And that's more of a outdoor carnival kind of an audience. They do a monthly market and sideshow, and I'm pretty much the sideshow. I do have other performers that come in and have fun and hang out with me, but I'm pretty much the sideshow for their markets, and that's more of a circus type crowd. That's they mill about and maybe occasionally throw you some tips in the jar, that kind of thing. So that's what I'm used to the most. But I've also done, I used to sit and do the, I'm going to call it pseudo psychic, and maybe I'll explain that later. I used to do the pseudo psychic card readings for people in just a sit down museum kind of setting. I was actually in the back of what was called the Museum of the Weird. And he had, everything from, the contents of a cow's stomach hanging on the wall to I think he had a 2-headed sheep and some mannequins of, like Lon Chaney and that kind of stuff. And I was back in the back hallway behind all of that, and people would come in and I'd do readings for them and that sort of thing. And that was fun. But I've also done, large theater. It's just, I prefer the more, up close and personal.
Yeah, great.
One type of interaction.
Yeah.
We've got some questions from our audience, so I am going to get to them, guys. I'll put them up, and Professor Pendark can answer them for us. So, firstly, I'll start with Andrea, and we'll ask questions in between, Pete. So I'll do one and see if you've got something, do another, and so everybody can get a chance to ask you something. And please, if you can, guys, don't forget to give us a like and share this live out if you can. Now, this is a great live. We've got a very interesting guest on tonight. We've got Professor Pendark, in case you've just joined us, and he is a magician,
mentalist.
What's the word?
Mentalist.
Mentalist. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Oh, I was just circling there. I couldn't get it. It does all that sort of stuff. So we're just finding out about him now. I'm just going to put some questions up. First one is from Andrea. Andrea is one of our moderators. Thanks for being here, Andrea. Do you use humor in your shows? So
I do. I tend to refer to it as smartassery. It's more kind of an unfiltered seat of your pants kind of humor, especially with the escapes and stuff. Of course, there's you get the ladies up there throwing you in chains. Of course, there's all the jokes that go with that, And I try to keep it polite because sometimes there's kids in the audience. But I throw a lot of They'll be locking me in the cuffs and the chains or whatever, and I'll, do I need a safe word? That kind of thing. But yeah, I like to play around with these.
Yeah, basically, you learn how to read the room, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I will get to another one in a sec. But Pete, is there something that you wanted to ask in between, or do you want me to just keep going, or what do you want to do?
Yes, actually.
Yep.
Can you explain to our viewers and to Dan and I what a mentalist is, what they do, and how you found out that you have this ability?
Okay. Well, for me, there are kind of two sides of it. Now, in terms of stage magicians, the mentalist is the one that performs the various experiments in mind reading, thought transference, that sort of thing. Now, in all honesty, of course, there's backstage stuff to that when a magician does it, right? There's tricks to the trade, so to speak. On the other side of things, I have done, the card readings and just sit down and counsel with people over a deck of cards, that sort of thing. And on that side, it's a little different. Now, I should explain that while I am a stage performer and I am a magician, unlike some of my predecessors, I'm not a complete and total skeptic when it comes to the psychics and the paranormals and that sort of thing. I am what you might call a cautious questioner rather than a skeptic. Because I've personally seen a couple of things that lead me to believe that things are possible.
Yeah.
And we may get into that later, but I've personally seen a few things that lead me to believe that those things do exist. But I have a theory that psychic ability is really the concentrated use of three very specific faculties. And I believe that we are all born with those, and those are intuition, empathy, and gut instinct. And, for explanation purposes at my end, I know everybody knows what they mean, but for the way I usually explain them, intuition is the ability to think of the answer that's needed in the moment based on what has gone before, right? Empathy is your ability to feel the emotions of a situation and find what's needed in that moment for that person. And then gut instinct is your ability to use what your experiences have been in the past in order to give the person what they need, right? So I believe that most of what we call psychic ability is really the concentrated use of those three things in some form. And that's kind of how I present it. That's how I use it.
Yeah. Right. Well, you've that's why I put this up while you're talking, this next question, because you were sort of answering it as you were going. So, that's...
We might elaborate on the question here. We might
elaborate on the question. Is there anything further you want to add to it? Or,
yeah, in fact, I choose to call it the spiritual. I believe in the spiritual, right? The paranormal suggests certain things that I'm not entirely convinced of, but I choose to believe in the spiritual. So, for instance, my mother has a story of her grandfather, who was dead at the time, appearing to her and telling her I was coming. So that's a long story for another day. But I also, about 10 years ago, my wife had a quadruple bypass. She had a heart attack, and there was a high risk of her not recovering. In fact, she actually died on the table a couple of times. And I had clergy of a couple of different religions come in and pray over her. And I believe I saw the effect of that with her, because it was a high chance that she was not going to come out of it. And now, here we are 10 years later, and she's doing fine, on the darker side of it, the major part of my 20s is a blur. But one of the things that stands out was an experience that I had. Of course, everybody has the toying with the Ouija board story, right? But I'm full convinced that we did see a dark spirit or a demon of some sort during that experience. So I've kind of seen both sides of it, and I have no choice but to believe it's possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And that there is exactly how I came into this. So when we came into the paranormal, basically, Pete was the one that had the experiences. I didn't. Oh, well, my family did, but I directly didn't. So I came in with more of the skeptical mind. He was already convinced because he'd seen some really crazy things. But I came in with the skeptical mind, and I still do. I think it's all about riding that fence. Like if you're doing what you're doing, then I mean, look, I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe there was something there, because that's what we're trying to capture. And the things that we've seen and heard things that make your head spin. But and like yourself, there's things that you go, well, you can't explain that. Oh, we've lost Pete. Right. He'll come back on. He's probably just dropped out. But yeah, there he is. What happened to you? Nah, it's probably his Wi-Fi. Go on your Wi-Fi. Maybe just might help. That's what I did. We got you? Pete? You can't hear?
Yeah.
Go out and then click on the link and come back in. I'll bring you back in. Yeah, so while he does that, I'll bring him back in a sec. While he does that, yeah. And that's exactly right. So that's basically, with us, we try and debunk everything that we can. And if it can't be debunked, well, you go, well, must be, there's no other rational.
Must be something to it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view it. That's kind of how I deal with it. Is I don't tell people what I believe. Yep. I let them know that some of what I do is imitating the powers of psychics through the mechanics of a magician, right? That's mostly what the mentalism is. But I also let them know, hey, on the other side, I can tell the fortunes, do the card readings and that sort of thing. I will give you, let me say it this way. I have a little speech that I give for that side of it, right? I say that I'm not a pastor, priest, prophet, seer, revelator, guru, or marriage counselor. I'm just an old guy that knows some shit and I like to share it, right? So that's kind of how I present it. And then I leave it to my audience to decide what they believe, what they feel is true and not true. I've had challenges on both sides. I've had a couple of ladies who were witches actually come and tell me, stop lying to your audience. You know damn well you have power, and you're misleading them by telling them you don't. And I didn't really buy that, but I get where somebody's coming from who's a true believer, right? So I try to balance it. I try to let people decide what they believe.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, Pete's back in. Pete, give us an audio check. 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2. Everything just dropped out on me.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but it's all good. You started blacking out. It went black, and then you came back, and I'm a part, and I didn't know it. So yeah, anyway, but awesome. That's good. Okay, so yeah, we're just discussing about the paranormal and stuff, Pete. And I'm just going to move on. Tammy's in the house. Hey, Tammy, thanks for being here. Now there was, I think I put that up already, but we'll go again anyway. That's the link to Professor Pendark, guys. Go and oh no, that's not the link. Must have been up here. Anyway, we'll put that up anyway. Mods, if you can, just throw the link up for Professor Pendark, and I'll click on it. Is there? Let me just have a look here. I just want to see if anybody else, if you've got any questions for the professor, guys, please put them up, and I will show them. I'm just Stephen, where are they?
Even in that little section that I did drop out, did we talk about Professor's experiences in the paranormal? Did you have any experiences?
We did a little bit, yes.
Touched on it, yeah. So that's all good. We did touch on that. If there's anything that he wants to elaborate on, he's more than welcome to. But we've got a question here from Chris. She's asked, have you had any close calls?
Well, in which respect? You mean with the stage stuff or the
stage show? I'd say.
Yeah, the stage stuff. Yeah.
I have, like I said, the one experience. I tried to perform the escape from the bed of nails, and scratched my back up pretty hard, and there have been a couple of incidents where I wasn't entirely sure I was going to escape. I had, in fact, it was during my museum days about 15 years ago. There was a lady that came in. Well, I say lady loosely. She was a biker. She was there for one of the conventions, right? And she came in and did it up in the chains and everything. Had my wrists all bound and everything. And she did it in such a way that she knew she was messing me up. She knew she was messing with me, and clearly she knew she had some bondage skills or something. But she threw those chains on me, and it took over an hour to get out of them. I did get out of them, but it took about an hour to get out. And that was most of my close calls have been more about ego than they have been physical. It's been, can I do this? Am I getting too old for this shit? It's been that kind of thing.
No, we ask ourselves the same thing. Oh my God.
One question I do have for you is within the paranormal field, and both Dan and I experience this a hell of a lot, that there is a real problem with paranormal unity, with competing and people saying you're not coming to our locations, you're not doing this. Do you, in your show that you do you have that issue with other magicians at all?
I run into some of that. My main thing is that when I perform, I've been told that I'm too big, like I fill a stage and nobody can stand around me and be on the same stage. And I figured they were referring to ego, but I don't know for certain. That's just my wild guess, because I do have an ego. I'm not going to lie. But I run into some of that, and I've run into a couple of rural places, because I've also done shows throughout what they call the Mountain West here in the U.S. And between there and here, there are some small towns that they kind of frown on the whole magic thing. Little Bible towns. They tend to frown on it a little bit. But other than that, I haven't run into too much trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, sorry,
just
mate.
quickly, not a question. Just someone's mentioned something about the sound being a bit chirpy. It could be your internet. Let us know in the comments if anybody else is getting chirpy sound. It could be the internet. It could be, because you got to remember, we're talking to somebody on the other side of the globe, so it's a situation where data transfer, uploads, downloads, all that sort of thing. So just keep that in mind. But let us know if we're very chirpy or if it's cutting in and out. I'm picking him up great. I'm picking Pete up great. They can hear me fine. So it could be the internet.
I'm getting a few chirps here and there, but
so am I. Just a little bit.
Yeah, little ones here and there I'm getting, but overall it's about 80-90% good. So I've got a question here from someone, Pete, but if you got something...
Yeah, go for it. No. Get the questions out.
Tammy just wanted to ask, Professor, what has been the most solid evidence you have had that made you a believer? Keep in mind that if you have answered some of these people could be new and they didn't hear you earlier. So if you end up repeating yourself a bit on anything, I'm just saying.
No worries there. I repeat myself a lot during my show, which irritates people, but... Well, my personal experience is, like I had said earlier, everybody has a Ouija board experience, right? Everybody who's ever been around the paranormal has a Ouija board experience. And I'm certain that I saw, I don't want to call it a demon, but I think it was something along those lines. And that was back when I was in my 20s, and that was kind of a scare, So that led me to kind of back up and reassess, what am I doing? And then the other one, the other major one was my wife during her experience with the heart attack. she almost, like I said, didn't come back from the quadruple bypass. And during that, she had an experience where she believes that she spoke with God. And I have no reason to doubt her experience. And she is a very firm believer that that was a real experience for her. And, you know, I don't discount that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's the thing is that certain things just can't be explained. That's like we were saying when Pete was out. Is that just, you know, you try and rationalize things and debunk things and go, well, you know, it's not this, it's not that. Well, what is it? You know, and so that's what people don't understand. The word paranormal doesn't mean ghosts. You know, if you look at the word paranormal, a lot of people don't understand. The word paranormal means basically something that's out of the norm. You know, so you know, I could say, oh, that box sitting over there is a bit paranormal. Doesn't mean that it's a ghostly or it's an aliens, or it means that it's not the norm. It doesn't normally sit there, and it shouldn't be sitting there. That's paranormal, something out of the norm. You know, for anybody that didn't know, just giving you a bit of advice, knowledge. That's all. What have we got here? We'll just have a look here. Sorry, guys. I'm just Beck says brilliant mantra, Professor. I'll just keep putting your link up. Thanks, Andrea. Andrea keeps bringing it up, so I'm just going to keep putting it up. That's great. So, guys, if you can, if you either now or later, whatever, just make sure you go over to his Facebook page and like and share and give him some love and share it out there. I'm just looking at a lot of them. See, with the comments, they talk to each other, so I've got to bypass them and look for when they're something that needs to be up.
While you're doing that, Dan, basically, Professor, you mentioned something about something psychic earlier on in an interview. Can you explain what you were referring to and explain what it is for our viewers?
Okay. When I refer to psychic, as I said, quick explanation. I refer to what I believe is the concentrated use of three very natural senses that everyone's born with, and those are intuition, empathy, and gut instinct. Right? And I believe that when I deal with that sort of thing, those are what I'm using. And when I give a card reading, for example, or I give a piece of advice, that's what I'm using. And it's my belief that psychic ability is the concentrated use of those three very natural things. They're not necessarily otherworldly or, you know, extrasensory, that they are real senses that we have.
Right. Okay.
We have a question.
Yeah, I was just saying, what I'll do is, can you see? I'm not sure if you can see them on your end. Can you see the questions? So what I'll do is, I'll instead of cutting you off, I'll let you keep going, and then I'll just put it up. And if you happen to read it before I get to ask you, just roll into it. Just But
basically, did your wife have an out-of-body experience? I don't know that for sure. She feels very strongly that she did. That she actually, you know, took a walk and she believed she spoke to God. And you know, I don't discount that, because I know that people have experiences like that are very very real to them. And on that basis alone, I'm not the kind of person that's going to come in and say, you know, you're full of it. It's not real, you know, because I know that if I dash somebody's strong belief in what they think is real, that's intellectually dishonest for me to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. And that's very much how we are. Like, with our Facebook group, like when we first started out with the group, you know, people know what I'm talking about here. You know, the reason we've done it, and well, actually, I have to give Pete the credit here. Pete started the group up because he was on another group and he realised that he saw a lady. She just recently lost somebody. And then she, I think it was, she had a photo or she saw something and she put it up on the group, this particular group, and said, oh, I think this could be my husband or whatever it was.
And all.
Yeah, raw, yeah. And she just got slammed, absolutely slammed.
Yeah.
And Pete thought, oh, this is just disgusting. So that's why he created the Facebook group, and for people to be able to come to and have somewhere safe where they can come and put something up like that. And don't get me wrong, we know everybody's entitled to their opinions and their beliefs and all the rest of it, but we don't tolerate people bullying or like you just said, putting others down. Like if they want, all you have to say is, look, that's a great shot you've got there. I personally think it could be this, but at the same time, if you believe it's your husband, it very well could be. You don't slam him, because especially after a couple of days, she's still mourning. It's, we wanted to create somewhere where people could come and be like, safe haven. Yeah, thanks, dude.
That's what I like to do with my show. I like to give them a place where we can explore these different ideas, these different concepts, and people can say, okay, I don't believe that. Great. Let's, I leave it to you. And I really prefer that approach, because otherwise you're telling people what to believe. You're telling people what they can or can't believe, and I don't buy into that.
Exactly right. Yeah. Everybody has their own beliefs, their own reasons for their beliefs. And I believe personally there's a lot of people out there that have an open mind, but because of the paranormal is definitely something that's growing. When I say as in well, actually, all niches, whether it be extraterrestrial or spirits or whatever, I think it's starting to, because it's on YouTube and there's a lot of shows coming out and all the rest of it. People are starting to either open their mind or they're being able to open their mouth, as in they feel like they can't. Earlier, they couldn't say, "Oh, I think I saw a ghost." People would go, "Weirdo," But now it's becoming more. What's the word?
Commonplace.
Oh, yeah, common. Yeah, so they're more able to express what they've seen and heard. But I think out there, the majority of people globally, I think if you ask them one-on-one, they've got an open mind. They just some of them probably don't want to say it in front of other people because they don't want to make
exactly. I find, with any topic, the internet is not the place to try and hatch out that topic. I just saw the one comment there that intuition is our ingrained defense system, and we shouldn't ignore it. And I tend to agree with that too, because that's how you come up with the answers. As you say, where have I been before? Why does this bother me? What's happening? Right? Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Yeah. Scott Johnson. Hello, Scott. Thanks for joining us. I'm just going to see.
Professor, I've got one question for you. I can shoot out to you right now. Yep. Out of all the things you do with being a magician, doing mentalist work, doing stuff psychically, what is your favorite part of what you do? What do you get the most enjoyment out of?
Well, I'll be honest. Like I said, I have kind of an ego. It's my head swells whenever I'm in front of an audience, which is hard to believe because it's already rather large. But I do tend to enjoy the interaction one-on-one during, say, a demonstration of mind reading, or one of the little pieces of close-up magic, or one of the small escapes. Right, I like that personal interaction. And another saying I've kind of developed is, for me, I look at the little kids that sometimes show up to the show, and I say little kids because I'm 52, so anybody under 12 is a little kid to me. But when they show up to the show and they're fascinated by what I do, and wow, could I learn how to do that? And I tell them, yeah, you could. Now, whether you want to or not is another story. And, your parents probably want you to stay in school so you don't have to learn how to do this. But, I tend to like dealing with the kids, because to me, my saying is that I would rather perform for the smile on that one kid's face than the applause of 1,000 adults. You know, that's kind of my view on that. But I do also enjoy sitting down and doing readings for people too. That's enjoyable, because that's where I get to kind of sit down and give my old guy advice to people, right? That's kind of my platform for that. So I enjoy that. But I think if I was to say what I enjoy most, my favorite thing, of course, is the escapes, because they're big, they're flashy, everybody likes to see that sort of thing. So I think that's kind of my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I think too, with the you're saying about the readings, the one-on-one. Yeah, that's all about. I think that's too, because I think it'd be a very much, what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfilling. You're giving somebody hope, inspiration, especially with the young kids. Inspiration, because you never know. Them coming to see you and, oh wow, that's awesome. You could be creating and inspiring the very next magician. The next person. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's kind of why when you're talking about subjects of the paranormal, the guy John Edwards had the TV show where he was communicating with the dead, or that was his platform, right? I cut guys like that a little bit of slack, because I feel like they're in essence doing what I do. They're using this belief that people have, this platform that people believe in, to give life advice, right? To give somebody that glimmer of hope. So somebody like John Edwards, I kind of cut him a little slack in that regard. I don't go out and say, "Oh, that guy's full of shit." I don't do that. It's not my way of handling things. In fact, I've seen a few very impressive card readers in that vein, and that to me is not something that I'm going to sit and debunk, because if that person needs that piece of advice in that moment and you give them that piece of advice, I don't see the problem with that.
Yeah. Of course.
Let's see. How does your wife feel about this show? Is she... Not really. My wife and I have been together 20 years, so she is kind of at the point where she has said, "Hey, this is your outlet. This is what you do. Go do it. Just don't kill yourself. Don't bring anybody home with you." That's basically what she said.
Great advice. That's like ours.
I mean, that's good advice for anybody, right? This is
exactly right.
And she has treated some scratches on my back from the bed of nails and that sort of thing, so she knows what it's about.
Yeah. Here we go. Sorry, Pete. You were going to say
another
something?
question for you. Now, hang on one second. Where'd it go? Now, when you do anything to do with psychic work or the mentalist work, have you ever picked up on a piece of information or a feeling that, or maybe I shouldn't give this person this piece of advice, or is it a bad thing that I'd give them this piece of advice? Have you ever had an experience?
I've actually had a couple of experiences that way. One of them was, I think she was 18 or 19. And as I was going through the reading, as I was giving her the advice that came to mind for her, she began to cry. And, I wasn't sure why. I slowed down a little bit to give her time. And as we finished, and I had basically, without revealing too much, I had basically, given her advice that this was the time to write her story. This was the time for her to the world.
Oh, hang on, we lost him.
Oh.
Let's bring him back.
We all kind of popped out there for a minute. I'm not in the middle anymore. Okay. But her parents took me aside afterwards and told me, well, she's just been diagnosed with cancer. And that's why she's emotional. And that's why she asked you the questions that she did. So that was kind of my first experience in, okay, I've got to watch how I do this. I've got to be careful with this because I don't want to be somebody's trauma. You know, I don't want to be somebody's reason that they stop believing, that they become upset with the whole scene. So I've kind of pulled back a little bit, and that's where I've added the humor, and I've added, you know, I'm not a seer, I'm not a revelator, I'm just going to give you some advice, right? Because that's really what I feel I'm doing, and I don't want to do it in a way that's going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
No, that's understandable.
This next question, I'm just going to let him know, Scott. If you watch this, I'll ask the question for you because Professor Pendark might be able to elaborate on it a bit. But if you go back and watch the rewatch of this live stream later, he touches on something about this question. But I'll ask it anyway, mate. Scott wants to know, what's your thoughts on the Ouija board? I know you mentioned about the thing, but what's your thoughts on it, mate?
Well, you know, I'm of the it's not a game crowd. You know, it's not something I'm going to hand out to an 8-year-old and say, here, go play, right? But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that let their kid go into the, you know, to the Walmart or wherever and pick up that Ouija board and start playing with it. And I think that much like, say, Zen or voodoo or any of these outer things that we talk about, I think it's really based on the energy that you put into it, right? It's what you concentrate on, what you call up by doing what you do, right? Which again is why I say I'm very careful about how I do the readings now, because I know that if I put a certain energy in there, that's what people are going to pick up on and take away with it. And I feel like the Ouija board has a lot of negative connotation to it, and people are already trying to play with that dark negative connotation to begin with, right? And that's where I think a lot of these experiences come from.
Exactly, and I think it's a big thing. Intent is a big thing. Like, I believe that spirits that are around us can feel the intent inside us and the energy and the aura that we give off. Like, if you're playing with the Ouija board, for those that don't know, it's actually the word Ouija board came from it being the company Ouija actually turned it into Ouija board. That's it. Sorry, made it the Ouija board. It's just a name for it, but it's actually the spirit board. But yes, exactly right. I think it's the intent, you know, and the energy inside somebody. It's like when Pete and I go into a investigation, people go, "How do you just get so much stuff?" You know, well, it's not like we have lots, but I mean, it's like, how do you always get some sort of interaction? I believe we're always going in with love, peace, and respect, and we always say that when we're going in. You know, we come in love, peace, and respect. We're just here to communicate, but we mean it when we go in. I think that if we were going in, we just come in love, peace, and respect, they can see that we're full of crap. You know, like they'd be able to sense. I believe it can sense your aura and your intent. And I think that's with Ouija boards. I think if you're going with the wrong intent, not all the time. I mean, you know, who knows? You probably could conjure up something or have something come through that's, you know, you've woken and it's ticked that you've woken it. You know, but you know, I think intent is a big thing. I was going to show a question here that was basically regarding that. You know, oh, here it is. Not basically boards, but this one right here. Tammy.
I kind of have to. I kind of have to believe in there being something, whatever you choose to call it, whether it's you know, guides or guardian angels or whatever you choose to call it. I kind of have to believe in that because one of my darkest experiences, one of the places where Pendark comes from, is when I've had real hard time dealing with my own anger, depression, or negative, right? And there was one particular incident, I won't get too far into the details, but there was one particular incident where I was essentially, you know, gun to the temple, ready to go for it. And I am certain that during that experience, I heard, I had my grandparents are English and were English, rest them both. But I am certain that I heard my grandfather's phrase was always, "Get off your ass or I'll beat you with a bloody baseball bat," right? And that was what I heard. I mean, I heard that phrase clear as a bell. Put that down and get off your ass or I'll beat you with a bloody baseball bat, right? And that was kind of his way of saying, stop being an idiot, right? Stop being stupid. That was how he would use that phrase. And when I heard that, I kind of, just stopped. And it was enough of a pause. It was enough of a stop to keep me from doing what I was about to do. Yeah. So I'm kind of forced to believe that there's something. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. Perfect sense. Understandable. Yep. That's that. And it came at the right time. Definitely came at the right time. Here's one, Colleen, one of our moderators. Professor, when did you first know you had your ability as a mentalist?
That again, pretty much everything I do is developed by accident. I play around with things, I experiment, I have fun with things, and mentalism as I use it and define it is more the stage art of it, right? And it has just kind of developed over a period of, I've been doing this for almost 25 years. I've been doing this, and it just kind of developed over that time. I started watching certain performers on television. One of my all-time favorites, if you don't know him, go look him up. He was one of my all-time favorites. Just recently died. He was Max Maven. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. Or Eugene Berger is another one, magician. He was one of the skeptical magicians, right? He was one of the ones out debunking things. But I would watch those performances, and I'd say, that's really cool. I'd like to learn how to do that. And then I just, over a period of time, found books and information and kind of taught myself how to do it. And I don't know, I look back and I think a lot of the stuff I do, maybe teaching myself was the wrong idea, but that's one of the areas where it seems to have paid off.
Right. Yep. Definitely. We've got about just under 8 minutes left, guys. So if you do have any questions, please shoot them through. While we wait for them, though, just tell everybody where they can find you, like what platforms. I know you said earlier just type your name into Google, but is there anywhere we can send them directly? Like, is there any particular page or something you really want to send people directly straight to?
Just mostly go out to Facebook. Look up Professor Pendark on Facebook. I've got a couple of different things out there. I've got my writing page where I do little snips of fiction. That's kind of fun. I've also got my main profile, which is Professor Pendark. That's strictly for my show. But then you'll find connected to that, I've got a profile that's my real name, Rich Bateman. So Facebook's really my main platform, which proves that I'm one of the old guys, right? I had websites and stuff, but I kind of let them drop off over time. I'm still out on, several different platforms. Like I said, easiest way, Google Professor Pendark. I'm out there.
So, tell us what the future has in store for you.
Okay. Well, I am about to move to a new place where I will actually have a studio. I'm going to be doing some videos of practicing my different skills, and I'm going to be doing some readings of my fiction that I've written. I'll be doing that out on YouTube. I haven't decided yet. I may either do it on YouTube or TikTok. I work with both a little bit. Again, Google me, you'll find it. So I'm probably planning on TikTok, but I'll be doing some videos of some of my readings and some of what I do. So,
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, also just if if you really do want to grow yourself, TikTok is the way to go. Have you got someone that can, you got a little tripod or someone that can follow you around with the phone? Because
I'm working on that.
Can really push you and sell you on TikTok. It's amazing how fast you can grow on that. It's huge.
Yeah,
it's a big
part. Yeah, I've heard. That's why I'm going to experiment with that next. So
yeah, definitely. It's cool little things on that. It gets addictive. I trust you. It gets addictive. You start making little TikTok videos and music on it.
Well, I've definitely found what not to watch. So
I think we all have.
Yeah. You sit there flicking.
Yeah.
No, it's great. No, let us know. Please also, if you do have anything that you want to share with our audience, please put it up on our Facebook group.
Absolutely. I've got a few videos of myself practicing the card magic and that sort of thing. So maybe I'll throw those out there for you.
Please do, because it's a great way to get people to go, oh, who's this guy? That didn't see this video, and then, oh, cool, I follow you. So, but yeah, is there anything else here before we get going? Anything you want to ask him, Pete, before we go, mate? Or?
No, I'm pretty much got everything I wanted answered, and it was really, really, really good. You do lead a very interesting life, I will admit, with what you do as a magician and as a mentalist and psychic. I think it's really intriguing that you have that ability. A lot of people out there don't understand what that abilities where places they take and helping people. Like, one of my biggest things is that if you can help another human being, why not? With the abilities and gifts you have, I think it's an amazing thing that you do. And I commend you for it. I think keep going. Promote.
Well, I definitely plan to keep going. I've told my wife that, the year that I can't carry the bed of nails to the stage myself, that's when I'm done. So that may be into my 70s. I don't know yet.
I think.
Oh, sorry, keep going, mate. Sorry.
I think one of the biggest things is that if you can put a smile on another human's face,
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You don't know how much that person, just for that day.
Yeah. Do you, with the readings and stuff, have you ever done any online? Like, you had people contact you to do them online for them, or?
I've thought about it. I haven't done it yet. I've thought about doing it because, like I said, that's more kind of to the side of everything else that I do. So I've thought about it, but I haven't done it yet. I mean, if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to shoot them to me, and I'll definitely think about it.
Yeah, we actually know a shout out to one of the mediums we know, Charlotte Underwood. She actually done open readings on TikTok, and totally blew her up. She just so many followers, so many open, but not just for the followers. It's the fact is that she was doing the live readings, and she appointed certain people to moderate for her to, basically while she's doing the readings, they'd be talking to the audience and stuff, and it really helped a lot of people, because I partook in a few of her live readings and helped her moderate on a couple of them, and the amount of people that were just typing in there, how much she'd helped them, and like people were saying, if you can help one person. So I think the open readings is something that if you are able to do it, and it is an ability that, and this goes out to anybody, if you have got the ability, I really recommend doing the open live readings, because the amount of people that you will touch and help is phenomenal. Be prepared. You are going to get people sliding through going, oh, what's this?
Oh, yeah.
Keyboard warrior. But that's where you have some people helping you out, and they'll just flick them off while you're doing your thing,
You love mods.
That's our mod. Mwah, they know who they are. They are just second to none. Thank you, guys. Absolutely brilliant. They're all on here, basically. So, thanks, girls. You know who you are. We really appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, mate, definitely TikTok's the go. The reason I say that is because it's the world's biggest platform now. They're all on there, But the live streams on there, we were doing them for a little while. We were doing what was it called?
Not a fan of TikTok. I can't do it.
Yeah, I waver. I've seen some stuff over there that I'm just like, oh, how is that even a thing? You know.
Well, you know, it's the whole thing. Build it, they will come. You know, you can't beat them, join them. So
right.
it's all about, this is business. You know, it's all about growing your name and your brand and getting noticed. So you go where they, you know. So I was going over there doing a live stream called oh crap, I can't remember what it was called. Too long ago. But it was basically doing a live live reading, not readings. We're using our equipment to try and pull through, because we've got attachments, and we're trying to use our attachments to help pull through people's loved ones for them and communicate through our spirit box and all the rest of it, trying to get them to come through. All the people watching and listening were listening in on the spirit box and everything, trying to hear what they could hear, and they're all saying, "Oh, did you hear such and such? I think I heard this." And other people be like, "No, I heard that," or "I heard this." And in the end, no one really knows for fact, but if those people walked away feeling like they, you know, Aunt Mary got in touch and they feel great about it, let them feel great about it, because they're going to move on with their day going.
Absolutely. That's the way I like to handle things. You know, I like to say, you may look at me and think this is all bullshit, or you may look at me and think that I am some kind of an, you know, amazing, powerful psychic individual. And I always say, you know, it's up to you to decide what you believe, you know.
Exactly right. Yep, definitely.
Well, on that note, guys, we've pretty much hit the end of the show.
Yep, that's it.
It's been good.
Thank you very much, Professor Pendark, for being on. If everybody can, you know, if you enjoyed what Professor Pendark has told us tonight, and if you can, please go over to his Facebook page and go into Google even and type in Professor Pendark and see what comes up.
That's the fastest way. You'll see all my stuff come up. So
yeah, show him some love and check him out. So, and anybody that wants to, you can subscribe and like us as well, please.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you being on. And we'll here. Pete, you want to roll us out? We might as well all jump out at the same time.
Well, on that note, guys, like Dan said, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please share our content to help us get out there. If you're a first-time viewer, make sure you go over and check out Professor Pendark, and make sure you like us and do everything you need to do on the social media. Dark Pen, I said it wrong. Sorry, Professor.
I've been called worse.
On that note, guys, thank you for joining us. Take care of one another, and we will see you on our next live investigation coming up soon. And we'll talk about, that reminds me, before we go, we will be talking about Dan's South Australian trip next fortnight on our live. So make sure you stick around to see that.
Keep an eye on the little video snippet thing I'll do for everybody to see too. I'll do a little video up. We've got some footage of my trip down there, and so keep an eye out for that. I'll put it up on the group and the channel as well. So, but yeah, we've got some really cool locations and videos coming up to round up season 5. So keep an eye out for those, and they'll be coming out over the next 6 weeks, basically. Every fortnight I'll drop one. So keep an eye out for them. So, and all I can say is our finale, you're going to be blown away. It's absolutely brilliant. I've never experienced anything like it in my life, and you're going to be completely shook. So, but on that note, we're ready to go.
Thanks, guys. Yep. See you later.
Just take care. Thanks, Professor Pendark. We appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you guys.
See ya.